Calamity Infernum has a total of 47 different bosses, each with their own unique set of drops like weapons, accessories, and sometimes even crafting materials. In this video, I will be attempting to beat Infernum in all of its entirety by only using gear that can be obtained from said bosses. There's only one slight problem here. How the hell do we even kill one in the first place? The starting weapons obviously haven't come from a boss, so are we cooked? Not really. The only things I've allowed myself to use that don't come from boss loot are tools and buffs. So everything else like weapons, armor, accessories, basically anything that I can actually equip has to come from a boss. So luckily I won't have to be underground for too long, since really all I needed were life crystals, magic storage materials, and buckets? Yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. King Slime, believe it or not, actually does drop a couple of weapons, which we did not get either, so I fought him a few more times to get the katana. I'd also get the last piece of the ninja set, then a few kills later, a crown jewel. Now the katana isn't exactly an ideal weapon, it's really more of a self-defense kind of pocket knife rather than a boss obliterator, which, I mean, I guess is alright against the goblin army, but after a little bit, I remember that I still have a lava arena, so yeah, whatever, that's over. Which means Tinkerer, which means reforging, and then our next boss, Desert Scourge. Now this dude being a worm is kind of the best case scenario for this weapon since I'm able to hit multiple segments. The thing is, this weapon's pretty small, so I'd have to get dangerously close in order to get my hits in. But in the end, it wasn't too much of an issue and I was able to defeat him kind of smoothly. But now that I have a new set of weapons, I'm going to introduce a new rule that I set for myself to make it slightly more interesting. I'll only be allowing myself to use the weapon pool of bosses that we've just defeated. Meaning now that we've beaten Scourge, we can only use his weapons until I, then we use his until Crab, and so on. There will be some exceptions to this, as there are a few guys that just don't drop anything, but we'll talk about that later. Also, this rule will get a little freaky much later in the game, but again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But anyway, Desert Scourge dropped the Sahara Slicers and the Brittle Star Staff, but I still decided to fight him again where I would get the Scourge of the Desert, which I decided to use for my next boss. And Desert Scourge not only drops gear, but also drops some materials that we can use to craft sea remains, which can be used to craft Victide armor before fighting the Eye of Cthulhu. This guy has 2 weapons in his loot pool, but I didn't get any. I mean, he does drop Crimtane, which can get me some things, but I'd rather get his dedicated weapons, and after kill number 4, I would get both of them in the same bag. I also got plenty of shields, which will actually be my first mobility accessory, as my accessory lineup is something, that's for true. Luckily, Crabulon isn't one of those fights where you have to move all that much, so having almost no extra mobility boost besides our buffs isn't really that big of an issue. This dude drops the Fungal Clump accessory, which will provide a decent boost to our damage, and he also dropped almost all of his weapons. But none of them really gave me too much confidence, so I fought him again. I mean, the Myco Root is a solid pick, but it's got very little range. Fungicide is one of my favorite pre-hard mode guns, but we don't have any ammo for it, and we'll not have any ammo ever for a very, very long time. The second kill got me the Infested Clawmorang, which is a weapon that I trust to watch my kids. And looking at my accessories, I really felt like I could use at least some bit of extra mobility, so I tried farming King Slime to get the stress pills, which increased movement speed and acceleration by 5%. But no matter how many times I killed the guy, I never got him, so I tried on Crab, but nothing. So on a whim, I decided to look at what I could even make with the stuff I have access to, and saw I could make a Shield of the Ocean, which gives me 10% movement speed while wearing Victide armor. So there's my small boost in movement, I guess. But does it really matter though? I don't know, probably. not close at all. And now I get the fucking stress pills. Okay. Sure, dude. Sure, dude. Fuck you. Oh, wait. I can't use my current weapon. Let's see. What can I do with tissue samples? How strict am I on the... But that's my best shot, I guess. I don't know. You should die. Thank you. Okay. That was a 7-minute kill. To be fair, I maybe like launched my thing like once every like 7,000 years. Was Meatball a good move? Probably not, but does it matter? Not really, because I won, albeit slow, but whatever, dude. Perforator's drops honestly really aren't worth talking about, I guess. I mean, I did decide to use the Bloodbath because that's what I got. And it was by now I decided to carve out and create the foundation of what would be my main arena, because I didn't want to do that later. And after finishing, I would take to the skies where I would find the corrupt island and use its blocks to create an artificial biome in my arena to fight the corrupt bosses. I really have no reason to do this other than the completion of it, but I do get materials for shadow armor and also a shade thrower from the hive mind, which will be my weapon of choice for Queen Bee. And after a while of searching for a special hive, I decided fuck it and fought her in the first open area I saw. This fight wasn't really too crazy. I mean, it got a little bit awkward with my singular platform being a little too high since I don't have any vertical besides bounding and featherfall potions, but for the most part, like, it was fine. The first kill I didn't get the weapon I wanted, nor on the second, but third time's the charm, I had gotten the bee gun. And since I'm using a bee weapon, I might as well use the hive pack to get like 1 extra DPS, I guess. The next fight is Skeletron, however, Deerclops' pool of weapons is not very desirable here. I mean, I do like Pneumatic Horn, in fact it's probably the only good weapon, but again, I don't have any ammo. Houndius Shootius is a sentry, and I'm not true meleeing with Lucy the Axe. The Weather Pain, however, is exactly as its name suggests. It's a pain. It's slow, expensive on mana, and does very little damage. To say that Skeletron would be a drag would be an understatement, which is convenient because he only drops one weapon that has a 10.5% drop rate. Awesome! Ah, finally. This thing... I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine with this thing on Slime God, probably, maybe, hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Of course it wouldn't drop the weapon that I wanted right away, but after a while and plenty of kills, I got the overloaded blaster. I was kind of sick of mana by now, so I wanted to get away from that for a bit. And conveniently, this weapon takes gel for its ammo, which I have plenty of from my time with King Slime. As for the purified gel that I got from the big SG, I can't really do anything with it. Most of its recipes require blighted gel, which is dropped from the blight slimes, which look exactly like the slime gods paladins in the recipe browser, which made me think that I could get it, but no. It's fine though, it's not like my loadout is terrible. It's actually pretty decent, I guess, which is more than enough for John Fart himself, Wall of Flesh. Alright, time for the easiest fight of my life. With the world being plunged into hard mode, I am now obligated to ask you all to like and subscribe. Your support really helps out a lot, and who knows, maybe I have a special super ultra cancer run planned for 50k, I don't know. But we're just gonna have to get there to find out. That's enough of that, let's get on with it. So the Wall of Flesh drops some pretty neat goodies for us. The Demon Heart is an upgrade that gives us an additional permanent accessory slot. I'd also get the Meow Thrower, which was the exact weapon that I wanted, and although I didn't get a Ranger emblem, I can shimmer one of the ones I got, and yeah, that's it, that's my loadout. Now even though my gear is good to go, I'd still do a little bit of prep, like getting a jelly crystal so I didn't have to do it later, freeing the wizard for his scandals, and getting Essence of Havoc to make red bait that spawns our first boss, Dread Nautilus. Believe it or not, this guy is actually counted as a boss per Infernum's Inferred All Death Wish achievement. So, while he may not drop a bag, I can still use the Sanguine Staff, which being a summon weapon, I would pivot to bee armor, which I conveniently had enough wax for from all of those queen bees I've slain. I then went into the dungeon for the first time to grab a bewitching table. Afterwards, I coated the bottom of my arena with an artificial hollow. As for all the prep I would do, that's it. I'm pretty sure my stuff is still lucky and I never changed my Ranger emblem, so yeah, but it's not like it really matters since I'm pretty confident on Queen Slime. I don't think I really need to optimize anything here. Queen Slime only drops one weapon, which is the Blade Staff. I didn't get it on the first try, so I fought her again. I also wanted to have a full Crystal Assassin set, which I was just missing the shirt. so repeating this fight wasn't that big of a deal. Also, I just really like this fight in general, so I didn't really mind grinding her. And after only a couple kills, I'd get the last armor piece, and quite a few more to get the blade staff. Now because this is a summon weapon, I'd still be using B armor. I just want a crystal assassin for later, as it's like a general set, you know? I then would grab just a little bit of snow to make an artificial tundra in my arena, because god forbid I place like 2 platforms at the biome that's already there. And I would begin my fight with cryogen. For the first time in this playthrough, I finally have some actual vertical mobility with the Soul of Cryogen. As far as important drops, that's it. I mean, I would use the Icebreaker, which is a rogue weapon. Other than that, yeah, I don't know. Frost Flare would be nice, but it didn't drop, so whatever. And since I'm using a rogue weapon, I can use my Crystal Assassin armor, which does come with stealth. Not that that really matters to me since I don't play with stealth, but I thought it was worth mentioning. I'd also upgrade my arena a little bit by spacing out the platforms now that I'm not restricted to a single Featherfall pot. And after that was done, I would begin my dogfight with the twins. I actually had my blades out for that first kill, which I had completely forgotten about, and per my dumb rules, I decided to fight them again the right way. So here's where our most recent boss weapon rule gets a little bit weird. The mechs don't drop any weapons themselves, and hollowed bars don't drop until after the third mech is defeated. So for this part, I'll make an exception, and we'll continue to use our Icebreaker on Aquatic Scourge. With our final mech being defeated, I can finally get hollowed bars, and out of the few weapons I can make, I went with fucking light discs. Why? I don't know. Shadow of Calamity dropped a good amount of stuff. I pretty much got everything but the summon weapon, so I fought her again to get that while using the Crush All Crasher from one of the brothers. And to pair with the summon, I need some hollowed armor, which I didn't have enough bars for, so I farmed some mechs for a bit. I then reforged all of my stuff, then remembered I can actually get myself an Avenger emblem since it's made up of the mech souls. So now I have 3 whole damaging accessories that add up to a 39% increase, not including reforges. To say that I'm basically going all in on the glass cannon is technically not wrong. My pool of accessories is still pretty small at the moment, and a lot of them are kinda like whatever. But anyway, it's now jungle time. I clawed my way through the land in search of the Vernal Pass, making sure to collect every life fruit in my path, and once I made it to my destination, I made a makeshift arena and got fucking clobbered. My movement in there felt gross and terrible, so I did some farming for some boss bags. I was looking for a set of developer wings, as they're ever so slightly better stat-wise than my Soul of Cryogen. Did it make that much of a difference? Not really. Again, they're very slightly basically the same as what I had before. But you know what they say, third time's the charm. Sometimes. This is really annoying. This is really annoying. I'm not really sure what they say for 4, if they do at all. Go Harvick? I don't fucking know. Plantera dropped a lot of things, but none of it matters because none of them were the wasp gun. I like bees, damn it! I will not stop slaughtering this plant until I get it. Okay, I can move on now. Next up is Anahita, so I'd go to the ocean to make an arena, but then I'd go back to Plantera because I wanted the Thorn Hook since I've been using the shitty Skeletron hand for a billion years. But despite being only a 10% drop, I never got it ever, so I gave up on that and just proceeded with Anahita. That fight felt like a bit of a drag, so I just decided to go with whatever the bag gave me instead of farming for anything specific. And out of the few weapons I got, I settled on the Whitewater as it looked cool, I guess. I then went down into the Sunken Sea to grab the schematic because I keep forgetting that Aureus is locked behind the codebreaker stuff. So, after I did all that, I made a pretty flat area in my astral to fight this guy. However, this is where my poor mobility becomes even more of an inconvenience. This guy likes to crawl very fast at you, and my wings are so much slower than he is. I don't have any ground mobility either, so I'm faster in the air, but that doesn't really matter because I'm just not fast at all. So Ash from Aureus was a bit of a prick. Well, there's that. I don't want to fight this guy ever again, so I just used whatever he gave me, which was the Aura Radical Throw, which is a rogue weapon. He'd also give me some Interstellar Stompers, which provide some pretty decent mobility. So, next was Golem. Navigating the temple is tedious as always, but eventually I got to the chamber where I would clean out all the traps and add torches for visibility's sake. Now this fight was okay. Much like Aureus, I could really feel how bad my wings were at this point. The Stompers did help to some degree with the increase in jump speed, but it was still not very good to play. But other than that, the fight went as smoothly as it probably could be. However, his drops left a lot to be desired, but I didn't really care enough to farm for anything, so the Possess Hatchet was gonna do. I mean, next up is just Duke Fishron. He's kind of a pushover. I can kill this guy with a paperclip if I really wanted to. All of this guy's weapons are pretty good, however he does drop a set of wings, so I farmed him for a bit and now my mobility is up to standard. I tried to fight Plaguebringer Goliath, but I got rocked, so instead I pivoted back to Golem to rip his eye out for 10% more crit and 15% more crit damage. This accessory is really fucking good. But I used this first one to fuse with my Avenger emblem, then went back to get a second and now my loadout is fucked up. Now I banked on this fight giving me a new summon set with Plaguebringer armor. Turns out I actually can't because the legs require flower boots which don't drop and can't be made from any boss loot. I mean I can just use the individual pieces I guess, but I really only wanted this for the free ram dash, so at this point I don't really care anymore. So there goes my summoner plan. I guess I'll use like Malachite or something. And it was by now that I felt I should upgrade my arena a little bit, so I didn't have to do it later again. And since Empress was next, I decided not to put in platforms since she grants infinite flight, and for my playstyle on this, the plats just get in the way. I got a Terra Prisma. Guaranteed. I mean, it's part of the normal loot pool, so like there really was no reason to do that, but like... At this point, you already fully know the drill. I kinda have to use anything this guy gives me, but it's very much worth mentioning the fleshy geodes. These things have bars and life alloy in them. These can shimmer into stuff, and now all of a sudden I'm opened up to a lot more stuff that I couldn't previously use. Does most of it matter? Not really, no, but the option is there. They've actually been available since Holo. I just kinda forgot I could shimmer that stuff. But for now, most of this doesn't matter. I'm way past Cryonic, Perennial, who gives a shit, but Scoria? That's where it's at. I can get armor. Yeah, that's it. Now I did need to do a lot of farming to get the scoria I needed, since each geo drops like 2 to 3. But after way too long, I finally got my armor set. Cultist isn't really worth mentioning, his fight was kinda quick and he doesn't drop anything, so back to the weapon exception for Ashram Deus. Deus's weapons are all pretty solid, but he also drops fragments. Can I really do anything with them now? Not really. I don't plan on using the weapons since I'd rather use the ones from the boss and the boss weapon loot run, but the option is there. I then would take out both the solar and stardust pillars to kill time, I guess, and then I would go down into the Lost Coliseum for our next boss. All of Argus's weapons are really fucking good. I god rolled here and got everything. So as I returned to my land and I cleared out all the remaining pillars, I was ready. I was confident. Too confident. Moonlord has never been a smooth fight for me, so I wasn't really surprised that I wasn't really doing well. The dash that I was using at this moment was the Shield of Cthulhu. This thing feels like shit, so I upgraded it into the Shield of the High Ruler, since it's the only fucking dash accessory I can have. If you're wondering how I got the Cobalt Shield, I shimmered my ores. That's it. But eventually, after some trial and error, things would finally click. Yeah, you a bitch. You a bitch. You a bitch. 32. Ricky Craven? What the fuck? From Moonlord's bag, we are blessed with weapons, a celestial onion for an extra accessory slot, and luminite, which can be crafted into, most importantly, bullets! This is the first bullet I can obtain in this run, as it doesn't require musket balls or bullet casings to craft, and because of that, I'm locking in the SDMG as my proceeding weapon. And to go with that, I'd use the rest of my luminite and the fragments I got from Deus to make some vortex armor, but I'd keep the hydrothermic headgear just for better raw stats. And since I was playing Ranger again, I'd make a deadshot brooch with the cores that I got from Ravager not too long ago. So now I had to figure out which boss I was actually going to fight first. Dragon Folly and Guardians are both on the same tier, thus are interchangeable. Dragon Folly has a lot of weapons. Guardians have 2. One of them I don't feel right calling a weapon, and the other, I've used only once very briefly at this point in time, and that I remembered I didn't like it. It was really just which weapon did I want to use on the boss afterwards. I didn't want to use a weapon I didn't like on Providence, so the decision was clear to me. I'd fight Guardians first to get the Punctus, then use that on Dragon Folly to get an actual weapon for Providence. The thing is, I don't really know what the fuck I was on about back then to make me not like this Punctus thing, but I really fuck with it here. I actually really like this weapon, and I didn't think fuck-ass Dragon Folly did it much justice, but per my rules, I can't use it again. But this is also my video, I don't give a shit, I'm repeating this weapon, I don't give a fuck. But let's just say none of that ever happened, and actually I just killed Moonlord, got my SDMG Ranger loadout, and now I'm fighting Dragon Folly for the first time, so I can use his weapons on Guardians, then Punctus on Provi. In the beginning when I said this was gonna get freaky, this is what I meant. I'm gonna let you know now, this won't be the last time I do whatever the fuck that was. Yeah, I don't know either, dude. But hey, Providence, how you doing? So the first attempt felt like any other Providupe run. But on our first cycle in Phase 2, I already chipped her down to around 30%, which is when her attacks get even faster. I definitely was not familiar with the Punctus's game, because that is nutty. But then I still died. I only know this attack with Static Hook, but I'm not allowed that here, so I'm like a fish out of water. Providence gave me some juicy stuff like a dash and some wings. So the weapon I would go with was the Purge Guzzler, and the first sentinel I would go up against would be Ceaseless Void. To no surprise, the fight was pretty easy, and I didn't really have to try that much since this weapon is pretty easy to use. I didn't get the weapon I wanted from it though, so I fought Void again, and this time I'd get the Mirror Blade. The Brainstorm update reworked this thing to be a true melee sword, which is why I wanted to use it, and the guy I'd be wielding this on was none other than Cygnus. But two things, this fight fucking sucks with true melee, but also I'm really bad at this fight. So remember when I killed Void? Yeah, no, that didn't fucking happen actually. Molten Amputator is a rogue weapon dropped by Providence, and the best rogue set that I have right now is Hydrothermic. So I murdered Deus again to get some Meld Blops to get a set of Empyrean armor. And I now fought my first sentinel for the first time, Cygnus. The weapon I received from this guy was the Cosmolamp, so I would go back to Summoner for my second Sentinel, which I'm fighting for the very first time, Ceaseless Void, because I haven't fought him yet, you know? Oh, would you look at that, a Mirror Blade. Our final Sentinel is a Worm, aka True Melee Victim, so surely this will be fine. Maybe. Poltergeist gave me a nice supply of both Ruinous Souls and Necroplasm. On their own, I can't really do much with them, but I can take a little visit to Ravager again. After Providence, he's buffed a little bit, and his fleshy geodes now become Necromantic geodes, which now includes Bloodstone. So with that, some Necroplasm and Blood Orbs that we got all the way from Dread Nautilus, I can get some Bloodstone cores, which can get me some Blood Flare armor when combined with Ruinous Souls. I then would dig out the Sulphur Sea to make an arena for my next boss, Old Duke. Alright, I'm gonna stop you there. It's June 2026, and we're still getting claims for universal collapse. But I mean, like, at least it isn't some guy pretending to be another guy to claim the cover of the guy he's pretending to be. But it's still, like, really inconvenient. But also, I kind of, like, don't really care at the same time. I don't know, bro. It's universal collapse. I'm not gonna be distraught at the fact that I can't use Calamity Mod music in my videos. I really couldn't give less of a shit. I don't know. I don't know. I thought I'd put this little spiel rant. Not really a rant. I should stop now. I can't really formulate thoughts to speech on the fly. That's why I use scripts, and they all suck. He should be dead now. And he got the last bite on me. Okay. Devourer of Gods drops me a shit ton of Cosmolite, however I can't really do much with it. Most recipes require either weapons I wouldn't have, or the new materials from the hard mode events, which I also can't have. And because of that, I can't have Ascended Spirit Essence for Godslayer armor, meaning my current Bloodflare armor is and has been my final set. As for accessories, there's really nothing we can upgrade either, so with my Excelsis, now named the Maw of Infinity, and somewhat underfunded loadout, I will take flight with the Yaron. We're now in the final stretch, with only 3 bosses to check off. Yaron's Soul Fragments, which when near Simmer, can be crafted into Auric R. Can I do much with Auric itself? Not really, but I can shimmer it down into Yuli Bloom for a Badge of Bravery. That's the extent of what I use it for, yeah. Actually, I can shimmer it down even further to get Exodium Clusters, where I can finally use the Lunar Coin that I got from Night Providence to make the Purity. I wasn't gonna use it yet, but I figured I'd make it now before I'd forget. And yeah, that's it. Let's just move on to the next guy now. Primordial Worm drops two very, very, very juicy mage weapons, the Eye of Madness and Illusioner's Reverie. The Eye is very good with multiple targets, whereas the book is more for singles. And with the Exomex being next, I went with the Eye of Madness. And after finishing up my Codebreaker, I was ready. Okay, I won. I was so confused what was happening. Okay, that's my very first time doing Thanatos in DSP. Hooray. 7 attempts. I played that really well, and my Warbanner killed the fucker for me. I don't know if my DPS was really all that good during that, but you know what? Sure, man. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, Draydon. And I get Spine of Thanatos. This weapon is really good. I've never gotten this legitimately before, and I'm very happy about this. I'm very happy about having this. I don't know what this weapon is. I don't give a shit. This is all about Spine of Thanatos. Hooray! I beat the game. Right? Yes. I did beat the game. That was fun. I think. Most of it was fun. It was a little annoying sometimes. Like the boss grinding. But this is fun. This is fun. I like this. I liked this one. Do boss rush and use fucking scowl weapons? No, dude. I'm not fucking. You take me for a guy who does boss rush? No. Hell no. Anyway, like, subscribe, comment a fish fact, and, yeah, no, I think that's it. I think that's it.
You becoming Jewish. You becoming one with the holla.